Welcome everybody to our October 14, 2024 City of Sueur Council meeting. At this time, we're going to call our meeting order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council members, you all received your packets over the weekend. Hopefully you had time to look them over, reach out to our city administrator with any questions. At this time, I will look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan.
Second.
Councilmember Huntington seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to public hearing, Mr. Roby, you want to give us an introduction on this?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll give a brief introduction, and then Mr. Graff is coming forward here. So this is an annual action that we request City Council to take prior to considering assessment of delinquent utility bills, which would take place in November. It's required that City Council conduct a public hearing. So Mr. Graff can give a quick update on where that stands right now, and then we'll request the City Council open a public hearing.
Sure. Thanks, Administrator Roby. Mayor, members of council, just to refresh, we initially, first week of September, sent out about 404 letters to property owners with a total delinquent balance of just under $611,000. We ran an update on that last week, and the amount has decreased about $121,000 to about $490,000. That's a pretty similar decrease to last year from the initial sending of letters to this time last year. The letters, went down from 404 to about 227. So, which is pretty normal. It's more of the smaller delinquent balances we're getting paid versus the larger ones where some property owners are just paying their property taxes or city bill via their property taxes. Just for reference, we finished last year by the time we sent to the county at about $365,000. My guesstimate of where we'll end up by the end of the year is probably a little higher than that, maybe around 370 to 380 would be kind of where I would think we would land there. So that's an update. Again, we sent the letters requesting the balances to be paid by November 7th. We'll have the meeting on the 11th. And we do, if customers reach out to us and they're close to that date and need a little bit more time, we are flexible and give them a little bit more time to pay before we send it off to the county. So that's just a brief update. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Graff. Before we open the public hearing, I want to just ask the council members, anybody have any questions, concerns? If not, I will ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Swanberg.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Schlueter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Graff, anybody signed up to address the council tonight?
No.
Nothing there. Very good. Then we will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan.
Second.
Councilmember Swanberg seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to the consent agenda, all items on consent agenda considered routine have been made available to City Council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. These items will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event these items will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. Mr. Roby, do you want to review these words?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Five items tonight on the consent agenda. The first is approval of City Council minutes from the regular meeting on September 23rd, 2024. Second is approval of disbursements through today. Included in those disbursements are 4 items over $25,000. The first is to MMPA for our purchase power from September 2024 in the amount of $696,239.42. The second to Altitude Energy Payment application number 2 for the Main Street Substation project, totaling $135,442.58. Third, to the Minnesota Department of Revenue, or city sales tax for September of 2024, $46,986. And finally, Alpha Wireless Communication for some additional encryption-ready police radio equipment, $39,265.34. I will add as a note on the police radio equipment that those dollars will be reimbursed through a federal grant. We just have to submit the paperwork after the payment has been issued. And that'll be a 100% federal grant match. Item C, approve airport pavement maintenance and payment application number 4. Item D, personnel action, the hiring of our seasonal recreation employees. And item E, personnel action, the hiring of a full-time police officer.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Roby? Yes, sir.
On the police, how many full-time police officers do we have?
We have 6 right now. Well, so we have chief, sergeant, 4 full-time officers, and this will make 5.
Chief, sergeant.
Chief, 2 sergeants, excuse me.
So 8 is the department. When you add everybody up.
I believe that's correct, yes.
And we're at 7.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
I want to miss that. Councilmember Swanberg, seconded by Councilmember Sullivan. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Public comment. Is anybody signed up? Mr. Crew, would you like to check that, please? Thank you.
All blank, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Which takes it into our city administrator update, Mr. Roby.
Few items tonight. First of all, and I suspect Councilmember Schluter will mention this as well, just another reminder to the public and the City Council that the Planning Commission's Future of the City Forum will be taking place on Saturday, October 26th, 10 a.m. to noon at the high school and middle school. The Future of the City Forum survey was completed and results have been shared with the Planning Commission. Those results will also be shared with the City Council. I was able to participate in a joint city, EDA, and U of M Extension Office meeting on September 30th to talk about community engagement and economic development. A couple of potential projects coming out of that. City staff conducted a debrief session with the Giant Days Committee a couple of weeks ago just to talk about what went well this last Giant Days and what to start planning for next year. City staff are currently in the evaluation and discussion phase regarding our airport fixed base operator. So airports in Minnesota are required to have a fixed base operator, which is a primary operator that conducts business out of the airport, generally provides maintenance of the terminal building and provides service for aviation, so repair work and things like that. Scott's Helicopter has served as the FBO for the city of Sueur for the last 20 years, 19 years. That contract will be up in February of 2025. So we are evaluating the agreement right now and expect to bring something forward to council in the next few months. There's a fire commission meeting coming up next Wednesday, October 23rd. The next day, October 24th, the EDA is hosting a business workshop. It's a free event for all local businesses, 4 to 6 p.m. at the library. And I want to thank everyone in the community and staff for all their work putting on the Marion Peck celebration on October 3rd. It was a lot of fun. Marion had a ball. A lot of people showed up. Really good food. Very cool celebration. So thanks everyone and congratulations again to Marion. And our next meeting will be October 28th.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for the city administrator? You might want to announce Marion had a little accident shortly after that.
Sounds like she's in good spirits.
Good. She broke her hip.
No.
Yeah, right shortly after that happened, a day or two later, so.
Oh.
Good. Moving on to the regular agenda, sorry, no, jump ahead of ourselves, which takes us into agenda item 8A on the 2024 capital improvement plan. Mr. Roby, you want to kick us off for that?
Sure would. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Graff's coming up to the podium as well to share his thoughts as well. So as this council has seen over the last 9 months or so of 2024, we've periodically brought amendments to the approved CIP plan. The first example was purchasing tables and chairs for the community center. So we asked City Council to amend the capital plan for that. They were a huge hit. They're going over very well. The second amendment was also for the community center, which was the modification of their capital plan to include the refinishing of the floors in the merit room and the loft. So from time to time, as city staff meet and discuss our capital planning and also our capital activities during the year, we will bring forward amendments to the capital plan. Tonight, the request for City Council is an amendment to the capital plan, which would provide for $60,000 to repave the community center parking lot. The city has an opportunity here in a couple of ways. One is we have the equipment and the staff to be able to reclaim the entire parking lot ourselves, which saves a significant amount of contracted labor. And also because we're at the end of the paving season, we have some contractors who normally the bids would probably be a little bit higher, but because the weather's been good and all of the big jobs are done for the year, we can squeeze in a smaller job near the end of this year into their schedules. I'll let Mr. Graff discuss the dollars and cents of it, but there's some additional expense that had not been expended in the recreation and stormwater and public works budgets that instead of carrying over or using on some final street maintenance items, because of this opportunity, both public works and recreation teams would like to take this chance. Instead of spot fixing the community center parking lot yet again in the fall, to repave before the winter season. And certainly entertain any questions.
Anybody?
Does the striping come with that?
Yes.
It's a good question. Well overdue, well overdue.
Yeah, it is. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And this doesn't impact at all, but you just moving stuff within.
Yeah, we, like Administrator Roby kind of summarized, I mean, we've worked with all the departments and kind of looking at what we spend, the known items that we have, and kind of talking to them and saying, all right, we'll do the known items, but let's cut off anything else. We would estimate that we'd come in the general fund about $65,000 under budget. And the big source of those, we did have some other parking lots on the CIP, the Joint Services Building, City Hall and Police Department, and the library. So it's kind of just shifting those dollars, not doing those projects, doing this parking lot. We've sold some fixed assets, kind of through auctions. That's $10,000 of revenue coming back in. So we would still probably say that maybe a few $1,000s under budget, even after this swizzle here. So no impact, anything that's already been approved, just moving things around and reprioritizing some of the parking lots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Smuller.
With the removal of the horseshoe pits, is there any potential to enlarge the parking lot?
So we have had that conversation, and we are not going to do it with this project, but with the removal of the horseshoe pits, with the removal of it coming down to that tree on July 31st in the windstorm, there is potential to expand the parking lot, and that would be our long-term plan. As part of that, given the time crunch we're under and also the budgetary crunch we're under, we don't have enough to do it right now, and we'd also like to work on potentially expanding the sidewalk, maybe to the batting cages, so that we don't have people walking across the grass to get to the batting cages, or extending a sidewalk all the way from the community center directly through toward Legion Park potentially. So yes, the plan is eventually to expand parking to the west.
Good question. Thank you. Anybody else? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to approve the amended 2024 CIP as presented.
So, second.
Mr. Huntington first, second by Councilmember Tui. Anybody, any questions, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
How long would this project take?
It's estimated to take a week, and so we're planning to kick off. I suspect Public Works Manager Schmidt is paying attention to this meeting right now, and will be on the phone with the contractor. I'd like to start it next week because there's not enough going on Ferry Street and Kingsway next week with the changeover to the new school and everything. But we'd like to get it done as soon as possible. It should just take a week. Our staff will get in and start reclaiming, and then the contractor will come in, and we've already shared with the New Country School. This community center serves as a drop-off location for the country school. Shared with them and shared with the hockey association and the school that this would be a potential. We'll be coming forward to city council so that staff can work on logistics.
Is the plan to have the whole parking lot shut down, or are they gonna do half?
That we don't know yet. Ideally, we would do the whole thing so that we can avoid the number of cold seams that we have. So it may be possible, depending on when it's being graded, that portions would be open, but once they start paving, I anticipate the whole parking lot will be off limits.
Thank you. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll move on to, oh, did we take a vote? We did vote. Didn't we?
Yes.
Okay, very good. There we go. Moving on to item 8B, resolution R 2024-050, calling for the District 22 public hearing. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and pleased to see some friendly faces in the crowd tonight who I suspect have a keen interest in this specific agenda item. Hi, Paul and Mary, and Herbie. So over the last really year and a half, the city and EDA and staff have been working closely with the property owner directly to the south of Ridge Road, as well as potential developers on establishing a single-family housing development on the roughly 11 acres. There are two parcels down there, one at the west edge of Distal Drive and one at the south end of Ridge Road, that were initially part of a planned subdivision, but were never platted as such. And so we have two roads that effectively dead end Distal and Ridge. And the property owner had expressed an interest in developing the property. And so we've been working very closely with a specific developer. And I'd like to point out there are two separate but parallel tracks running with this project. One is the TIF itself, and one is the development. So the city council will, at a later date, be asked to consider the actual development itself. So right now, the city staff have received a plat application and a planned unit development application, which outline the exact measurements and details of the development: lot size, elevation, stormwater, utilities, sidewalks, things like that. Staff are reviewing that right now, and the expectation is that staff will bring that to the Planning Commission at the Planning Commission's November meeting. At that point, if the Planning Commission approves the plat application or recommends approval of the plat application and the planned unit development application, from there, that recommendation would come to City Council for consideration. As I mentioned, there's two parallel tracks. One is the development and the planned unit development application plat, and the other one is the TIF. So as part of this development, and the city of Sueur has seen this now over the last several significant developments, is the developer's interest in tax increment financing. So most recently, we've seen that with the Bimeda expansion, with Oak Terrace, with Valley Green Square, which is now Tiller in Maine. All of those were TIF projects to some extent with a set dollar amount and time frame on them. So the developer here, in order to offset some of their development costs, has requested a TIF district be established, and the district would cover the entirety of all of these lots that are outlined here. And the district itself, and I'll get back to the map because I know everyone's excited to see it. The TIF itself, the EDA and the city council both have a role here in the great city of Sueur in establishing of TIF districts. So the EDA took this issue up first at their last meeting and evaluated the TIF request and asked some very good questions. And the EDA voted by resolution to recommend that city council call for a public hearing on the TIF. You know, it seems like a lot of bureaucracy, but that's the process we have to follow. So that's the action that's in front of council tonight. The EDA said, we would like the city council to call a public hearing. And so that's what the request is tonight, is for city council to consider calling a public hearing on the TIF district itself and the TIF plan. The TIF overview, as of tonight, it looks like there's it's roughly 11 acres. The plan is for 35 single family homes. The developer has agreed to do a 3-year build out. So presumably if everything were approved, they would begin grading likely in late winter, early spring of 2025. And then as soon as lots have been developed, they have a builder already and they would begin building homes. And over the course of 3 years, put in 35 homes and all the roads and utilities associated with the development. Right now, the development itself, which is before they even start putting a house on a lot, the estimated cost of each lot is $117,000. So if anyone's been following the real estate market anywhere in southern Minnesota recently, other than Rochester, they'll know that lots don't cost $117,000. That's $117,000 is much higher than a lot right now is on the market. So that's where the TIF comes in. The developer has said, look, these lots are probably worth $50,000. And so the difference between that $50,000 and $117,000 is what we as the developer would like to recapture through the TIF process. And our TIF advisor ran the math on that and said over 26 years at 95% TIF, the developer would be able to recoup those expenses to make the lots effectively market rate lots so that the houses could be built and sold. So 26 years, 95 reimbursement. So that's 95% of all incremental taxes, all incremental tax value on the property. 5% is retained by the city for administrative costs. So effectively the developer pays the property taxes each year, and then the county calculates the amount of that increment, the difference between the existing taxes today and what the new taxes are. And then they will tell us what that amount is, and we will then cut a check to the developer for the city share of those property taxes. And if they build out all of these houses over that 26 years and the market goes according to where the county assessor and the TIF advisor believe it will go, and it generally works out, it's kind of magical, the developer will recoup their costs within that 26 years.
Anybody have any questions? I'm sure you do.
I'm just curious, the 50,000 lot value that everybody agrees is probably what they're worth, and the 117, is that $67,000 utilities to make that? So it's more than double the cost of a lot to get water, sewer, and electricity per lot.
Yep, it's road, street, sidewalk, and utility costs,
Curb and gutter.
Okay.
plus grading and everything. So it's, don't quote me on this, but I believe the math is somewhere around maybe $1,400 to $1,500 per linear foot.
Okay.
To put in all of the infrastructure.
And if this, say we pass this, and if for whatever reason the deal falls through, does the city have any exposure?
No. So and I don't say this with any hyperbole, if the TIF is critical to this development in this form happening, because otherwise it doesn't pencil out for the developer. An alternative scenario could be the city or EDA could say, we want to act as developer, which some cities do. St. Peter's doing it right now, where they buy the land, they borrow money, and they use that money to pay for all the infrastructure, put in the roads and everything else, and then rely upon lot sales to recoup and pay that debt. There's a lot of exposure, obviously, if the development goes south. Here, the developer is paying for everything from first shovel that goes in the ground until all the houses are built.
That's the way I read it, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, that's correct.
Very low risk. And the intangibles too, we need to think about is the influx to these lots all, we filled with families.
Right.
This helps our school district, it helps our community commerce. There's a lot of intangible things to think about too, so.
And there's no concern over what is it, 26 years is the max legal?
Correct. So admittedly, that's longer than we would normally consider.
Right.
That's statutorily the longest we can do.
Okay.
And the reason we felt comfortable with that was because that allows it to pencil out for them. We need the houses and because there's no exposure.
Yeah.
Very good. Anybody else? With that, the action before us would be a motion. We need to actually make a motion to adopt resolution R 2024-050 as presented.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Kluge.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Williams. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. So the public hearing will be noticed and called for on December 9th. It's going to be a very big night for this city council because that's our final levy adoption as well.
You're putting a lot on the plate there. That sounds good. Thank you. Moving on to item 8C, the resolution R 2024-049, approval of execution of the airport lease. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Most of the paper in your packet is made up of these leases. I apologize for that, but in full disclosure, I wanted to include all of that. So the city of Sueur maintains a significant amount of property out at the municipal airport, and historically the city has leased portions of that ground in the form of a ground lease, whereas the city still retains ownership of each lot, but leases a specific area or lot for someone to build a private hangar on. So if the private party owns the hangar, the city still owns the ground, and they pay an annual lease to the city for use of that property and quiet enjoyment of the property, as the lawyers would say. As City Council will recall, the council previously approved an updated lease agreement that was recommended by the Airport Commission. Those leases were sent out to all of the existing hangar owners at the airport, and we've started to receive them back. Instead of waiting for all the leases to come back, we figured we would do this as we get them. So I would expect that every meeting for the next several meetings, we'll have one or two or a handful of leases. Currently, in tonight's packet, there are 12 separate leases. These leases have terms between 1 and 8 years. 11 of these leases are existing hangars. We have one lease in here for lot 29, which is for an individual who would like to build a hangar. And so the recommendation to council is that we would grant this individual a 1-year lease. He has 1 year to build a hangar, and then at that point, it's city council's option to either extend that or open the lot back up for leasing. And there is one specific term in the resolution that I want to call attention to, just in case it comes up later. Not only with this resolution, approve execution of these and direct the mayor and me to sign them, but it would also allow me to make the decision for future leases on whether we want to approve them. So when they come in, instead of taking them all to council, I can have that authority. If that's something the council wants to do, then you could certainly approve the resolution of striking item 3 in the resolution.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve the execution of the airport lease, resolution R 2024-049.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Huntington.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Swanberg. Any other comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to item 8D, resolution R 2024-048, the 2024 governmental fee schedule update. Mr. Roby.
So this specifically, much like our capital plan amendment, from time to time, staff will bring forward to city council amendments to our governmental fee schedule. This specifically is something that I'm excited about, and I hope a number of our residents will be excited about. The city-owned compost site at Bowright Street currently is available to residents only. We do not allow contractors to use it because, frankly, historically, there's been a significant amount of abuse with contractors bringing in material from outside of town or commercial organic material that then the city has to pay to haul away. And we pay a significant amount of money to haul that brush away. We do recognize, however, that there are a number of contractors who operate locally, who do serve residential properties, cutting grass, raking leaves, clearing brush. And so in an effort to allow those local contractors to bring local residential yard waste to the compost, city staff have established a permit for contractors. They can apply for the permit, get vehicle stickers, and then if they're permitted and they pay the fee, they're allowed for the year to use the compost site. The resolution tonight is an update to the fee schedule, which would assign a $240 per year permit fee for contractors, and then $5 for each additional vehicle sticker for any of the contractors who have multiple trucks that they might use. So we have some cameras that we'll be placing out there. Or the local-
If you're out.
You could add that to the weed inspection.
Yes.
I'll keep my eye out for periodically.
You're not doing the weekends, are you?
And right now, I mean, as a side note, somewhat related, if anyone drives down Bowright Street now, they'll see some pretty significant changes to the layout of the compost site. So staff have been really hard at work regrading that to make it less like a lake and more like an actual even site. And they're going to create a specific contractor entrance on the back side for larger loads, and then create very specific side areas in front for residents. So it's much more clear where stuff needs to get dropped off. And then they'll also establish sites for picking up dirt that's been screened by the city staff, mulch and things like that.
Very good. Thank you. At this time, we'll then entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2024-048 as presented. That would be the governmental fee schedule update.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. Councilmember Schleter seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to the last item on the agenda for tonight, the Mother Louise Ash Tree Sculpture donation. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A number of folks in this room and in the community probably saw this last December. 2 years ago in July of 2022, when it was announced to the city council that the city of Sueur had been declared formally, officially infested by the emerald ash borer, there was some immediate concern over the future livelihood of the gathering tree, which is the large ash tree located in Mother's Louise Park that is lit every winter with 85,000 plus lights. It is an ash tree, and so at some point in time it may, unless appropriately treated, become infected and will die. We are injecting that tree in an effort to keep it around as long as we possibly can, but there's no guarantee that the injections will work. So as a part of memorializing the impact that this tree has had in the community over the last several years. The Christmas in the Valley Committee commissioned a sculpture by local artist Johnny Fabulous. Johnny created, I apologize, I didn't put it on the screen here. It's in your packet, and it's online. Johnny has a pretty neat YouTube video about the creation of the sculpture. Just created a sculpture memorializing the tree, and the Christmas in the Valley Committee, Sueur Lions Club, and the Rotary Club of Sueur were all instrumental in funding the project. The sculpture is not quite complete, and so should City Council accept the donation of the sculpture, the city would work with the artist to finalize the piece with plans for placement in the city park. Any questions?
Is this sculpture a donation actually from the Lions and the Rotary?
And Christmas in the Valley, yes, all three. Yes,
Thank you.
Evenly based.
Thank you.
yes, all three service clubs.
Wanted to give credit where it's due.
Yes, Christmas in the Valley, it all originated with them. Johnny had the vision, created the piece, and the Lions Club and Rotary Club came together to make this happen. It was presented to RPAC at the September RPAC meeting, and RPAC recommended that the city accept the sculpture as a donation to the city.
Thank you for that update. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I will entertain a motion to accept the Gathering Tree sculpture. So moved. Gift.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. Councilmember Williams seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to reports and items of appreciation. Council members, here's your opportunity to share what's going on with your commissions, the community, and as always, we'll start with Councilmember Huntington.
I've got nothing.
Thank you. Councilmember Schluter.
I attended a Sueur County officials meeting on the 25th in Lee Center. The biggest thing I note coming out of that is Sueur County has hired Bolton and Mink to develop their comprehensive land use plan, and they're going to be reaching out to the city for our input on extraterritorial growth areas. Attended Region 9 Development Full Board meeting on October 9th. The main discussion was on housing opportunities and challenges across the region. I hope to have a follow-up meeting with Administrator Roby and Justin Nielsen with Region 9 members soon. Administrator Roby also touched on the Planning Commission meeting on the 10th. We received the results for the Future of the City Forum, finalized the planning of the meeting, and our speakers are going to include Mayor, the City Administrator, and Planning Commission Chair Noel Krogman. There's going to be panelists afterwards for discussions and questions after the introduction session. I've got a Region 9 Development Economic meeting on Tuesday, and just a reminder for the Future of the City Forum on the 28th, 26th. Please attend for the discussion.
Thank you. Appreciate your report. Councilmember Sullivan. Anything?
I have nothing.
Nothing. Councilmember Swanberg.
Just a couple thank yous. Thank you to the community members who took the time to complete the Future of the City survey. Also, thank you to community members and organizations who helped volunteer to make the move from Park Elementary into our new facility this past weekend. It was over 100 volunteers, which is pretty amazing. And it was a huge success. So thank you to all of those people.
Thank you. Is everything 100% moved over, or they still got?
I think 90% for sure. I mean, classes will start there next Monday, 1 week from today.
Thank you. Councilmember Tui.
Yes, I'd just like to, to agree with what Administrator Roby said. I attended the thing that Thursday night for Marion Peck, and it was a gas. It really was well done, and a tip of the hat to the community center personnel. Just terrific.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a good evening. Thank you. Councilmember Williams.
On the 22nd of this month, I have a hospital board meeting, and I just want to compliment move from Park Elementary to the new system. Kudos to the planning that was involved in order for it to make it happen efficiently. I wasn't involved in all, but I heard nothing but positive things. So very kudos to that planning group that developed it, so to them.
Thank you. And I have nothing to report tonight. I think all the council members have hit a lot of the highlights of what's going on in the community, so thank you for all that. With that, I will entertain a motion to dismiss this meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor?
All right.